Greetings, yogis. My name is Daniel. This is Daniel Lee Yoga, and thank you for joining me for practice today. Just want to say hello to everyone, and my apologies if you didn't get the message on class being canceled yesterday, Tuesday. I had another outdoor class that I was teaching, so we did not have class yesterday. If you ever have any questions on schedule, either just reach out to me or subscribe to my Instagram. That's definitely where I post the majority of the updates for the coming week. But today we have a level one focus class. Oh, hi, Lori. Thank you for saying hi. Oliver is actually right here. He's right outside the camera, but I'm sure he'll make an appearance at some point. Thank you for saying hi. Yes, so level one class, 60-minute Vinyasa flow, and this week we've been working on our plank pose. So our plank pose can have many different variations, and we'll kind of go through two or three different variations today and kind of allow you to see what kind of works for you if you like to either put your knee down or maybe raise your arm up or keep it overhead. There's lots of different ways to approach the pose, and once you get more comfortable, you can kind of build onto it and have some fun with it. So it's a pose I really enjoy, and I enjoy teaching it as well as just integrating it into our flows. So that will be our focus today. And as far as props, I don't have any props with me. If you do typically practice with blocks, you can always have them nearby, strapped as well, but nothing in particular planned for using the props today. So I just want to thank you all for joining me. I think that's all I have to announce. I guess I will say that next week I will be on vacation, and so I will not plan to be streaming any live classes next week, but all my videos will still be available on YouTube, so you can watch any older videos if you'd like. So I'll say more after the end of class. So I think we're all ready to get started. So we'll actually get started in our tabletop position today. So coming right into our tabletop. And in your tabletop, you'll have your wrists below your shoulders, your knees below your hips, tops of the feet to the mat. Fingers are nice and spread. Have your chin slightly tucked. And we're starting here for a reason. Just making sure the sound is okay. Looks like we're good. Yeah, so this is kind of the basis to build off of our side plank pose and tabletop. It's the basis blueprint for a lot of poses. So we're going to take a little bit of time here today, but starting right here, before we start moving, let's just settle into this pose. So make sure the fingers are nice and spread and bring some awareness to your wrist creases. You want to make sure those wrist creases are lined up with the short edge of your mat, or maybe they're slightly turned out. If your wrist creases are turned in, that can put a little bit of undue pressure on your elbows. And so by keeping the wrist slightly turned out, allows you to keep those elbows a little bit safer here. Now with the knees directly below the hips and the tops of the feet to the mat, you can gently hug your navel in and up. That keeps your stomach from dropping down too much. When your stomach drops a little too low and you're holding there, a lot of times your low back can take over to carry the load, which we definitely want to avoid. So to carry more of the weight into the arms and the legs, we want a nice strong core. So gently hugging the navel in and up. Try and draw your tailbone down to your heels, even here in our tabletop. With the chin slightly tucked, that keeps the neck nice and elongated, gazes up towards the top of the mat. Just take two nice, slow, deep inhales here. One more inhale. And exhale. All right. And now, next thing to take note of are your elbow creases. And so I want you here, while your shoulders are over your wrists, to try and move your shoulders around, move your forearms around. So much so that you take a peek at your elbow creases, maybe they start to face forward, and then maybe you can rotate your arms so the elbow creases either face in or face back. Just kind of play around with that, pressing your hands down and moving your arms around. So your wrists and your shoulders stay still, and you're just moving your forearms and your biceps and your triceps. until keep moving them around, and then stop when you have your elbow creases facing forward. And notice that when they face forward, when you bend your elbows bend back. So that's the ideal location that we want to have for when we're working on our side plank, when we're going through our chaturangas, everything like that. If you notice when your elbows face out, that allows your elbows to fall out of line and again puts a little too much undue pressure there. So by making sure those elbow creases face forward, we can ensure that we're in better alignment here. Okay, let's come back into our child's pose. So bring the big toes to touch, separate your heels wide, and just send your hips back to your heels. Release your forehead down to the mat or to a block, and arms extended out long. If your forehead doesn't quite meet the mat and you want to raise your hips up off the mat a little bit, that's more than okay. Just settle into your pose here, and we'll start to deepen our breathing before we move on. So start by just noticing your breaths here. Seeing how your inhales compare to your exhales. And also taking note of how the air flows in and out of your body. Maybe you're using your nose or your mouth. Just taking note now. Now, wherever you are in your breath, just start to deepen your breathing by lengthening your inhales and your exhales. You can do that a couple different ways if you want to do your nostril breathing, breathing in through your nose and out through your nose. It'll allow you to start to lengthen your breath by inhaling and exhaling through a smaller volume. Then also just taking note of when you inhale, feel your belly and chest rise and expand. And when you exhale, your hips fall down, chest falls, and you release all the air out. Just take two more slow, deep breaths here. One more deep breath here. All right, let's lift our forehead up gently. Lift your hips up. We'll come back right into our tabletop pose, right where we started. So bring your knees back underneath your hips, tops of the feet to the mat. Well, now we'll come into our cow-cat pose. So starting to bring some movement. So we'll inhale as we drop our navel, tailbone lifts, heart comes forward, look up. Reversing that and exhale, rounding the back, shoulders separate, head hangs heavy. Keep going on your breath, moving through your cow and your cat poses. Just move slowly and mindfully here. And again, know that where are your elbow creases? Are they facing in? Are they facing back? Are they facing forward? Maybe you need to engage your arms a little bit more as you move through here. Keep those elbow creases facing forward. Just take two more cow cats on your breath, taking your time to move through each one. And then meet me back in a nice neutral spine in your tabletop. And we'll start to move on now. So coming into our arm and leg raises, let's start by curling the right toes under. Extend and straighten the right leg back. Keep the toes on the mat for now. Press back through that right heel. Now extend the left arm forward. Keep the fingertips on the mat though. So we have our arm and leg extended, right leg back, left arm forward. And notice, did your shoulder drop? Did it open up? Same with your hips. Did your hips open or drop? You want to still keep them level to the mat equally. And chin is still slightly tucked and gazes up towards the top of the mat to create a nice long spine. Stay for one more breath. And gently release back to your tabletop. Left arm down, right knee down. We'll switch to the other side. So we'll curl the left toes under, extend and straighten that left heel back. Send the right arm forward. So keeping the right fingertips on the mat, keep the left toes on the mat. Press back through that left heel. Extend through those right fingertips. Hug that navel in and up. And again, notice here, where are your shoulders, where are your hips, where's your pelvis? So all still equidistant from the mat. Gaze is still up towards the top of your mat. Staying for one more breath. And gently releasing back into your tabletop. So now we'll have the opportunity to advance that. You can either repeat that or we'll raise our leg and our arms into the air. So curling the right toes under, extend and straighten that right leg back. Keep the toes on the mat or raise the right leg up to hip height, flexing the toes. Extend the left arm forward, either left fingertips stay on the mat or raising the left arm up to shoulder height. Thumb up, pinky down, palm faces in. Keep pressing back through that right heel, extending through those left fingertips. Spinning the inner right thigh in and up towards the sky, keeping the toes and the knees facing down. Staying for one more breath. And gently release back down into your tabletop, switching to the other side. So same options as before. You can repeat our first go around, or you can extend your leg back and bring that left leg up into the air, hip height. Options for the right arm, extending the right arm straight, fingertips to the mat, or raise your arm up to shoulder height, pinky down, thumb up. Keep hugging that navel in and up, flexing that back foot, and spin that inner left thigh in and up towards the sky. Keeps the toes and the knee facing down. Staying for one more breath here. And exhale, gently release back down into your tabletop. And let's shift our hips back towards our heels again, but this time lift your torso up. So you can either keep the tops of your feet facing down towards the mat. If you want to curl your toes under, you can sit back on your heels that way. Or neither of those options work for you. You can just cross your legs into a seat. Let's work on the wrist a little bit because we'll definitely be relying on the wrist today in class. So let's clasp our fingers together. Bring the wrist to touch and bring your elbows close to touch. You don't have to fully touch, but at least try and get them close. And let's just start to roll out our wrists here. So making like a figure eight or an infinity symbol here. I deserve a vacation. Thank you, Lori. You can probably tell from all the different destinations I choose as the backgrounds that I'm ready. I think we all deserve a vacation. Thank you. All right, let's switch directions in those rotations. All right, begin to slow. Remember which thumb is on top. Separate your fingers and reclasp opposite thumb on top. Bring the wrists together, elbows together again, and start to roll in those rotations. Start in the first direction. Evening out all the sides here. And begin to slow and move in the opposite direction. And come back to stillness. Let's separate those fingers. Let's come back into our tabletop. So meet me back in our tabletop. We'll add a little bit of twist to the spine here. So make sure your knees are underneath your hips, wrists are directly underneath your shoulders. Let's extend that right arm out to the side, right palm faces down. So we'll inhale as we draw the right arm up to the sky. And exhale, send that right arm underneath. Right palm face stays up, and you send the right arm through underneath that left arm. We'll keep moving. So inhale, bring the right arm back up to the sky, fingertips up, and exhale, right arm underneath. So we're threading the needle here. Two more times that way. Inhale, right arm up to the sky, fingertips up. Exhale, right arm underneath, dropping that right shoulder. One more time here. Inhale, raise the right arm up to the sky. And exhale, right arm underneath. This time we'll stay low. So gently start to release that right arm to the mat. Release the right shoulder. Release the side of your head to the mat. So right palm still faces up. Now this left hand, you can extend it straight out. Fingertips stay on the mat here. So option to stay here, or if you'd like to advance, you can curl the left toes under and extend and straighten that left leg back. Press back through that left heel, balance here. Final option, if you'd like, you can raise that left leg up to hip height. Again, flex the toes, spin the inner left thigh in and up towards the sky. Stay for one more breath. Exhale, gently release that knee down. Bring that left arm back underneath your left shoulder. Press your hand into the mat. Inhale, raise the right arm back up to the sky. Open up the chest. And exhale, release that right arm down underneath the right shoulder. Hopefully you could hear me with my head down on the mat there. So we'll switch to the other side this time. So extending the left arm out, left palm faces down. We'll inhale as we raise the left fingertips up to the sky. Exhale, send that left arm under and through. Palm faces up, lower that left shoulder. 3 more times. Inhale, raise the left arm up to the sky. Exhale, send that left arm through. Palm stays up. 2 more times. Inhale, left arm to the sky, fingertips up. Exhale, send it through. Last time here. Inhale, fingertips to the sky. And exhale, sending that left arm through. So this time, stay low. Gently release that left arm to the mat. Release the left shoulder down and the side of the left head to the mat. The left side of your head to the mat. So again, you can stay here, or if you want to extend the right arm straight out, keep the fingertips on the mat. Stay here, or option to curl the right toes under. Extend and straighten that right leg back. Press back through the right heel. And final option, if you'd like, keep your balance and then lift that right leg up to hip height, flexing the right toes, spinning the inner right thigh in and up towards the sky. Pressing back through that right heel, stay for one more breath. And gently release that knee down. Bring the right arm back underneath your right shoulder. Press your hand down. Inhale, lift the left arm back up to the sky. Fingertips up. And exhale, gently release back down into your tabletop. All right. From our tabletop, let's curl our toes under. Lift our knees up. Lift our hips up. Start to straighten the legs and the hips back towards the heels. I should say, send the chest back towards the thighs. Press the heels down. Come into your downward facing dog. This is our first downward facing dog, so go ahead and take your dog for a walk. You can pedal out your legs. Maybe lift one heel, lift the other. Maybe lift one leg and lift the other. Just do what you need to do here for a couple breaths. You can always drop to your knees. Do the same thing. You can pedal out your legs as well. Tabletop is another option if down dog is a little too much. Let's take one more breath here. And then come back to stillness, pressing your heels back. Inhale as you gaze forward. Bend the knees. Exhale, walker step to the top of the mat. Come up to the top of your mat, feet hips width distance. Stay in your forward fold. Knees can slightly bend. Let the head hang heavy. Let's grab opposite elbows. Come into ragdoll pose. Let the head hang in between both biceps. Chin is slightly tucked. Let that back of the neck be nice and long. And if you'd like, you can gently sway from side to side. Bring in a little movement into your ragdoll pose here. Still pressing down through all 4 sides of the feet. And then switch whichever forearm is on top. Keep swaying from side to side if you'd like. And then let's come back to center and release your arms down. We'll come up to standing but nice and slow. So press down through your feet, keep your chin tucked, and start to roll up your spine one vertebrae at a time. Keep spinning those inner thighs in and back. Take your time to roll up to standing. Chin is the last thing to arrive. All right, and once you're up, let's just roll those shoulders up and back a couple times. And then opposite direction, back and forward. All right, so meet me up at the top of your mat if you're not already there. Place your hands on your hips, thumbs back, fingers forward. Use your thumbs to draw your tailbone down, fingers to lift those frontal hip points up. Broaden the collarbones, draw the navel in and back. Draw the shoulders down your back, away from your ears. Keep all of that and just extend the arms down to your sides and turn the palm to face forward. Take a nice deep inhale and exhale. One more inhale and exhale. All right, let's move. Let's inhale, bring the arms up overhead, palms face each other. Exhale, hinge forward, forward fold. Inhale, lift up halfway, nice long spine, hands to the shins. Exhale, forward fold. Back up to standing, press your feet into the mat, arms out and up overhead, palms face each other. Exhale, hands down through center and down to the sides. One more time. Inhale, raise the arms up overhead. Exhale, hinge forward, forward fold. Inhale, lift up halfway, hands to the shins, nice long spine. Exhale, forward fold. Press your feet into the mat. Inhale, raise the arms out and up overhead. And exhale, hands down through center and down to the sides. Take a breath here, and we'll start to add on to our sun salutation series. So, arms down to the sides, palms face forward. On your next inhale, bring your arms up overhead, palms face each other. Exhale, hinge forward, forward fold. Inhale, lift up halfway, nice long spine. And exhale, forward fold. Plant your palms down, step your right foot back, step your left foot back. Stay in your plank pose here. We're in our plank pose for 3 breaths. You always have the option to drop your knees down in your plank pose. Either way, fingers are nice and spread. Again, take a peek at those elbow creases. Make sure they're facing forward. You can firm your biceps out and firm your triceps in and press your biceps out. Now everyone drop down to your knees. We'll shift forward, bend the elbows back, lower all the way to the mat. Top of the forehead to the mat. Bring the tops of your feet to the mat. Press your feet down, hips down. Inhale, lift your head up, chest up, baby cobra. We're holding just for a breath here, releasing that tailbone down. And exhale, gently release, forehead back down. Curl the toes under, keep your knees down. Press your hips up and back, all the way to downward facing dog. Come through plank pose with your knees down first if you need to. In our down dog, just stay here for 3 breaths. Keep firming those triceps in. Again, same thing here. You can try and roll those elbow creases to face forward. Pressing the heels back and down, spinning the inner thighs in and up towards the sky. One more breath here. And now gently start to shift forward. We're going to lower our knees to the mat and bring the tops of your feet to the mat. So we're actually in a plank pose with our knees down. So our tabletop is when our knees are underneath our hips, but we actually want to have our knees a little bit farther back. You can also measure by coming into plank pose real quick and then dropping your knees down. Okay, so tops of the feet to the mat. So starting with our first side plank here. Keep the left knee where it is underneath the left hip, but then move the top of the left foot out to the left side. So we're moving it out to the left side, kind of like a kickstand. Now curl the right toes under, extend that right heel back, and release the right heel down. So now the right toes face the long edge side of your mat. Start to open your shoulders and bring your right hand to your right hip. Stacking your shoulders, stacking your hips. And you can stay here, or if you'd like, bring that right arm up to the sky. Roll the pinky side edge forward, palm faces forward. Staying here, or you can turn your neck to look up at those right fingertips. Keep opening the chest, drawing the tailbone down towards that heel. Lift those hips up a little bit higher, maybe get a little bit less weight on that left knee. Stay for one more breath. And exhale, gently release back down to where we started, releasing the arm down. Release the knee down, come back down to your knee down plank pose. Recenter yourself, take a breath, and we'll move to the opposite side. So, right foot comes out, kickstands to the right side of your mat. Curl the left toes under, press that left heel back. Drop the left heel down so the left toes face the long edge side of your mat. And you can start to open up your chest. Bring your left hand to your left hip to start. Stacking your hips on top of each other, shoulders on top. And you can stay here, or if you'd like, bring the left arm up to the sky, fingertips up. Roll the pinky side edge forward so the palm faces forward. Maybe you turn your neck to look up at those left fingertips. Keep drawing that tailbone down towards your heels, opening up the chest here. Staying for one more breath. Maybe you lift those hips a little bit higher. And exhale, gently release. Slowly, left arm back down. Come back into your knees down plank pose. We'll curl the toes under. Lift the hips up and back. Come into your downward facing dog just for a breath here. Now we'll inhale as we gaze forward. Bend the knees. Exhale, walker step to the top of the mat. Feet or hips width distance. Inhale, lift up halfway. Exhale, forward fold. Press your feet into the mat. Inhale, lift the arms out and up overhead. Palms face each other. And exhale, hands down through center and down to the sides. All right, just take a couple deep breaths here before we move on. Go through a little bit of a different series before we come back to our different variations of our side plank pose. So take one more nice, slow, deep inhale and exhale. All right, press down through your feet. Inhale, lift the arms out and up overhead. Exhale, hinge forward, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift, hands to the shins, nice long spine. Exhale, forward fold. So stay low, plant your palms down, keep your left foot forward, step your right leg back. So you're in your high lunge, staying low here. So keep that right knee off the mat for now. Coming into our warrior two pose. So we'll drop our right heel down just like we did before. Now we want our heel to arch alignment, so you may need to walk those left toes over a little bit. So if you were to draw a line between the center of those left toes through the left heel, intersects with the middle of that back right foot. Now bring your left hand to the inside of that left foot, right arm to the sky, press down through your feet. Inhale, lift up into your warrior two. So settle into your warrior two here for a moment, arms out nice and wide, shoulder height, palms face down. Turning your neck to look over those left fingertips. Keep that left knee tracking over that left ankle. Press back to the outer edge of that right foot. All right, let's bring some movement into this. So on your inhale, straighten the front leg, bring both arms overhead, palms face each other. Exhale, rebend, warrior two. 3 more times, just like that. Inhale, straighten, arms overhead. Exhale, rebend, warrior two. 2 more times. Inhale, straighten. Exhale, bend. Once more. Inhale, straighten. And exhale, bend. Stay and settle into your warrior two here again. Make sure this left knee tracks over that left side, the pinky side edge of that left foot. Firming this outer left hip in and under. Pressing back to the outside edge of that right foot. Softening the shoulders away from the ears. Stay for one more breath. All right, we'll add our side angle pose. So lower body stays just as it is. We'll send the left arm forward as far as we can. We can't go any further. Release the left arm to the inside edge of that left thigh. Right arm up to the sky. Roll the pinky side edge forward, palm faces forward. You can stay right here or take another variation of your side angle pose if you want to release your left arm down. Fingertips or palm to the inside edge or the outside edge of that left foot. Either way, firm that left thigh in and under. Keep pressing back to the outer edge of that right foot. Palm faces forward. Stay for one more breath. Now press down through your feet. Inhale, lift back up into your warrior two. And we'll reverse our warrior. So left palm up to the sky. Release the right arm down. And then raise the left fingertips up to the sky. Add a side lean over your right leg. Holding just for one breath here. And now exhale, we'll spiral both arms forward and down to either side of that left foot. Come up on that back right heel. Now stay low and we'll walk our hands to the right side of our mat. Feet come with you so that the feet are parallel now. So you're facing the long edge side of your mat and you're low in your forward fold. Place your hands to your hips, slight bend in the knees, and then lift your torso up. All right, from here, keep your hands at your hips. And draw your ankles in and your toes facing out. So heels in, toes out. Both are about a 45-degree angle here. And with your hands at your hips, you use your thumbs to draw your tailbone down, fingers to lift those frontal hip points up. Take a nice deep inhale. And exhale, bend the knees, lower your hips. Inhale, straighten legs. Exhale, bend. 2 more times, just like that. Inhale, straighten. Exhale, bend. Inhale, straighten. And exhale, bend. This time stay here, stay low. Keep drawing that tailbone down. You can stay here, or if you want to add the arms, extend the arms out, shoulder height, palms face forward, bend the elbows, feel goal post. Draw the backs of the shoulders in towards each other. And final option, if you'd like to advance, press down through your toes and lift the heels off the mat, keeping your knees bent, drawing away from each other. Keep releasing that tailbone down. Goddess pose, stay for one more breath. Release the heels down. Keep your knees bent. Just release your arms down to the insides of your thighs. We'll add a twist here. So we inhale as we lengthen through our spine. Exhale, drop your left shoulder. We'll twist to the right. So we're twisting from the navel up, just the upper body moves. Right shoulder draws back, left shoulder falls down. turning your neck to look out over that right shoulder. You can use this left arm to press your left thigh away. Stay for one more breath. And gently release back to center. Take an inhale to lengthen through your spine. And exhale this time, right shoulder drops. Left shoulder to the sky. Rolling that left shoulder back. Use that right arm to press your right thigh away. You can turn your neck to look over that left shoulder. Stay for one more breath. And gently release back to center. Now straighten your legs. Bring both arms to your hips. And then parallel your feet again. Stay in your wide-legged stance here. But this time your feet are parallel. So bringing your heels back behind your center toes. We'll add a forward fold here. So start with your hands at your hips. Take a nice deep inhale. Send the center of your chest up towards the sky. And exhale, hinge forward. So send your chest forward. Adding this forward fold to our wide-legged stance. Once you come down to about halfway, you can stay here. Otherwise, if you want to go further, release your arms down underneath your shoulders. Slight tuck of the chin, let the head hang heavy. You can release your fingers down or your palms down. If you like, you can begin to walk your hands back. Keep your fingers facing forward and your hands still shoulder width distance, so maybe your elbows start to bend. Start to shift more weight into the toes, so keep your heels on the mat. Stay here for a couple breaths. If you're up a little bit higher, you can keep your hands at your hips. You can add a slight bend in your knees if your hamstrings are still tight. Otherwise, keep those legs straight, firm the outer legs in towards the midline. Let's stay for one more breath. And then we're staying low, but inhale as you start to lengthen. Walk your hands back out underneath your shoulders. Have your chest parallel with the mat. And then start to walk your hands over to the right side, I guess the back side of your mat, so your right leg. So you're coming up on that back heel. You're coming into a high lunge facing the back edge of your mat. So hands start on either side of the foot. Right foot is on the right side of the mat. Left foot is on the left side. Both toes are facing forward, so we're up on that back heel. Now we're dropping into our warrior two pose on this side. So drop that left heel back on the mat so that the left toes are just slightly further forward than the left heel. Heel to arch alignment, so walk these right toes so that the center of the heel matches up with the center of that back foot. Now right arm to the inside of that right foot, left arm to the sky. Press your feet into the mat and inhale, lift up into your warrior two. Settle in here for a couple moments here with your arms out at shoulder height. Shoulders are squared to the long edge side of your mat. Palms face down. Turning to look over those right fingertips. Make sure that right knee tracks towards the pinky side edge of that right foot. And here we go, adding some movement. On your inhale, let's straighten the front leg, bring both arms overhead, palms face each other. Exhale, rebend, warrior two. 3 more times. Inhale, arms overhead. Exhale, warrior two. Twice more. Inhale, overhead. Exhale, warrior two. 1 more time. Inhale, overhead. And exhale, warrior two. Settle into your warrior two here again. Try and roll this outer right thigh in and under, pressing back to that left side edge of that back foot. Sink a little bit deeper, shoulders rest below the ears. And now keep your low body just as it is, coming into side angle pose. Extend the right arm forward. When you can't go any farther forward, release the right arm to the inside of the right thigh. Left arm to the sky. Left palm faces forward. Pinky side edge rolls forward. Now you can stay here, or if you'd like, release that right arm down to the mat, either fingertips or palm to the mat, inside or outside of that right knee, right thigh. But yeah, firm that right thigh in. Press back through the outer edge of that back foot. Left palm faces forward. Stay for one more breath wherever you are. And now press down through your feet and inhale, lift back up into your warrior two for a moment. Now right palm faces up towards the sky. Release the left arm down. And then inhale, add your reverse warrior side bend over that left leg, staying just for a breath, keeping that front knee still bent. And then exhale, spiral both arms forward and down to either side of that right foot. Come up on the back heel. Let's send the right foot to meet the back foot. Drop your knees down, shift your torso forward, bend the elbows lower all the way to the mat. Tops of the feet to the mat, press your feet down, hips down, lift up into your baby cobra. Keep the low ribs down, draw the tailbone down. And exhale, gently release, forehead down. Curl the toes under. Lift up into your down dog. Come through plank pose with your knees down first if you need to. We'll all meet in down dog for 3 breaths here. So I know we're facing the back edge of your mat. You might be, but I'll have us turned around in a moment here. Just take one more breath in your down dog, pressing your chest back toward your thighs. All right, now gaze back toward your feet and walk your hands back toward your feet. Walking the hands back toward your feet. And once you're at the back of your mat, bring your big toes to touch and heels slightly separated. Stay in your forward fold here. Knees can slightly bend to start. Now, keep your left foot where it is, but send your right foot to the left side of your left foot so that the pinky toes are touching. So right foot is right knee is on top, right foot is to the left side of that left foot. We're just adding a forward fold here. So the back leg, this left leg aims to be straight, but the front leg, the right knee, can stay slightly bent. So same thing as our forward fold. So we can let our head hang heavy, chin slightly tucks, pressing the feet into the mat, trying to lift your hips up towards the sky. Softening the shoulders away from the ears. Stay for one more breath. And now gently stay low, but lift out of that. Bring your right leg back to the right side of your left foot, and we'll move to the other side. So right foot stays planted, and now the left foot comes to the right side of that right foot. So pinky toes are touching again, this time on the opposite side with the left knee forward. Now back leg, right leg aims to straighten as the front knee bends. And then again, let your head hang heavy, chin slightly tucks. Try and lift your hips up towards the sky, pressing your feet down into the mat. Staying for one more breath. All right, here comes the fun part. So stay low, but you'll lift your heels up just a couple inches off the mat so you're on your toes. And then you'll revolve yourself to the right. So you'll walk your hands to the right, keeping your toes rooted, your heels come off the mat, and you rotate 180 degrees so that by the time you come towards the top of your mat, you're facing the top of your mat. You can release your heels back down, and you're in your forward fold. Let's inhale, lift up halfway, hands to the shins, nice long spine. Exhale, forward fold. Press your feet into the mat. Inhale, lift the arms out and up overhead, palms face each other. And exhale, hands down through center and down to the sides. Just take a couple deep breaths. Let me know after class if that little revolution worked for you to face the top edge of your mat again. And now let's bring our big toes to touch this time. Heels separate, arms down to the sides. Come right into our chair pose. So knees bend, hips back, arms forward. Nice and long, biceps next to ears. Make sure you shift more weight into the heels. If you gaze down, you should be able to see your toes. If not, shift your knees back. Take a nice deep inhale here. And exhale, we'll just forward fold here. Inhale, lifting up halfway, hands to the shins, nice long spine. And our feet are together. And exhale, forward fold. So stay low, plant your palms, step your right leg back, step your left leg back, and lift right up into your downward facing dog here. So lifting the hips up, coming into down dog. Let's lift that right leg up and back to hip height, flexing the right toes. So the hips stay level to the mat, toes and the knees face down towards the ground. Now bend the right knee into your chest, shift forward, shoulders over wrists, and step that right foot to the top of the mat. Keeping that back knee up off the mat. Right knee tracking over that right ankle. Press into your feet. Inhale, lift the arms up overhead, palms face each other. And I'll exhale, release the hands down through center. Now shift forward 45 degrees. Keep that right knee tracking over the right ankle. And we're lifting up our left knee into our chest. So if you want to watch me first, we're going to press up off the back heel, lift the left knee up into our chest. So start at your 45-degree angle, knee over ankle. And then shift forward, lift that left knee up. So we're balancing on the right leg, left knee is into our chest. We're coming into tree pose from here. So keeping the shoulders square forward, we'll open that left knee out to the side. Option 2, release the bottom of the left foot to the inside edge of I'll just turn so you can see. So we're starting here, opening up. You can release the inside edge of that right thigh, right shin, just anywhere but the knee. So either the shin or the thigh. If you want to keep your toes on the mat for a little bit more balance, go for it. Just do what works for you. We're holding tree pose for a couple breaths here. Just keep firming this outer right hip in, pressing down through that right heel. Releasing that tailbone down towards the mat. If you'd like, you can grow your branches, raise your arms up to the sky, palms face each other. Soften the shoulders away from the ears. If this is too easy for you, maybe you close one eye, maybe you close both. I'm not going to close both. Maybe one. Let's stay for one more breath. And exhale, hands down through center. Now listen carefully. I'm just going to turn just so you see. Turn your left knee to face back towards the center where we started. We're coming into warrior three here. So take a nice deep inhale, bring your knee up, and then exhale, hinge forward, send your left foot back, straightening the left leg, lowering the torso halfway down towards the mat. We're staying just for a breath here in our warrior three. Keep firming that outer right hip in, flexing that back foot. And then release the hands down, step that left foot back, bending the front knee, coming into our high lunge. From here, plant both palms down, step your right foot to meet the back foot, drop your knees down, shift the torso forward, bend the elbows, lower all the way to the mat. Top to the feet to the mat, inhale, lift up, baby cobra. And exhale, gently release. Curl the toes under, lift yourself up all the way into down dog. Come through knees down, plank pose if you need to. Once we're in down dog, we'll move to the other side. So we'll lift the left leg up to hip height, flexing the left toes. Again, keep the hips facing down, so the toes face down and the knees face down. Press back to that left heel, and then bend your left knee in towards your chest, shift forward, step the left foot up to the top of the mat. So we're in our high lunge, staying low here. Make sure both toes face forward, press back through that back heel. Press into your feet and inhale, lift the torso up, arms up overhead. Now gently draw the hands in towards your chest. We'll shift forward 45 degrees. You know where we're going. Take a nice deep inhale. And exhale, hinge forward. Draw that right knee up into your chest. Now add your tree pose here. So opening that right knee out to the side. And then releasing the bottom of that right foot either to the inside of that left thigh or into that left shin. Toes can stay on or off the mat. Just choose what works for you. Anywhere but the knee. Keep firming this outer left hip in. It's easy to let it just sink out, so really firm it in. Press down through that left heel. Release that tailbone down. Once you're nice and stable, if you'd like, you can grow your branches. Palms overhead, facing each other. Softening those shoulders down. Staying for a couple more breaths here. Again, if this is too easy, maybe close one eye, close the other. If you fall out, don't worry, you can come right back in. We'll all be here. One more breath here in your tree pose. And then again, release your hands down through center. Bring your knee to face center again, up to hip height. Take a nice deep inhale as you raise your knee up. And then exhale, hinge your torso forward. Send that right leg back, straightening the right leg, flexing the right foot. Right leg comes up to hip height. Torso is parallel with the mat. Try and release that right hip down, rotate it down towards the mat. Press back through that right heel. One more breath here. And a gentle bend in that front knee. Release your hands down. Step that right foot back into your high lunge. Releasing both palms down. Step the left foot to meet the back foot. Knees down, shift forward, bend the elbows, lower all the way to the mat. Top to the feet to the mat. Press your feet down, hips down. Inhale, lift up, baby cobra. Release that tailbone down. Exhale, gently release. Curl the toes under. Keep your knees down, lift your hips up. And again, keep your knees down on the mat here. We're coming into another variation of our side angle pose here. So starting in our knees down plank pose, shoulders over wrists. Again, remember, if our knees are underneath our hips, that's our tabletop. We want our plank pose with our knees down. So our knees are more at an angle here. Now you have the option to repeat the plank pose that we did before. If you want to try to advance, curl the toes, press the heels back, and start in your plank pose. So we'll start by dropping the outer edge of that left foot down onto the mat And then stacking the right foot on top of the left foot. Opening the shoulders out, bring that right hand to the right hip to start. Try and balance yourself. Make sure those left fingertips are facing the short edge, the top of your mat. And try and stack your shoulders, stack your hips. Lift your hips up a little bit more, and those feet are stacked. You're on the outer edge of that left foot. Option to raise the right arm to the sky. Right palm faces forward. We're here for just a breath. Maybe you turn your neck to look up at those fingertips. And exhale, gently release back down into your plank pose. Let's let the knees drop down. Bring the tops of the feet to the mat. Send the hips back towards the heels. Take a child's pose before we move to the other side. So again, if you felt like that was a little too much for you, just go back to where we did the knee down plank pose. So you'd start just as we did before, where you kickstand your foot out. But if you want to try and come to your full side plank pose, come with me. So let's lift the hips back up, lift the forehead back up. Again, make sure you're starting with your knees farther behind your hips. And choose what works for you. So if you're coming with me, curl the toes under, press back into your plank pose to start. So now lower the outside edge of the right foot to the mat. Stack the left foot on top of the right foot. Start to open the chest, bring your left arm to your left hip. Stack the hips, stack the shoulders, start to open your chest out. You can stay here if you like. Raise that left arm to the sky, palm faces forward. Try and lift the hips up a little bit higher. Stay for 2 more breaths here. 1 more breath, releasing that tailbone down. And exhale, gently release the left arm back down. Come back down to your knees, tops of the feet to the mat. Press your hips back towards your heels. Come back into your child's pose again. Well done. Just stay for a couple deep breaths in your child's pose. All right, keep your hips on your heels. Lift your forehead up, walk your hands back. We'll lift our torso back up with our knees bent. So again, if this is too uncomfortable, if you want to rather keep your toes curled under, you can do that, or you can cross your legs. We'll just take a moment to work out our wrists a little bit more since we've been definitely relying on them in class today. So this time, whatever seat you choose, bring the backs of your palms to touch. And we'll gently start to roll in circles. So just make your rotations here starting in one direction. The idea here is to try and keep the base of your wrist touching the entire time. I have no idea where those cats went. They just always seem to come and go as they please. All right, let's switch the opposite direction. And just gently release. All right, so shift forward. Let's send the legs off to the side and come to a seat with your knees bent, feet out in front of you. We're coming to a couple different variations of our boat pose. So keep your knees bent, your knees hips width distance, and your feet hips width distance. Have the entire bottoms of your feet on the mat. So if you need to adjust how much you're bending your knees, you can. And then wrap your hands behind your thighs. Make sure we're starting with a nice long spine here. So root down through your sit bones, rise up through the crown of your head. Imagine there's a string at the center of your chest and is pulling you up towards the sky. It's a really nice long spine here. So we want to keep that. We want to make sure we don't compromise that in our different variations of our Navasana boat pose. Okay, so keeping the spine nice and long. Let's start by flexing the feet. So you draw the toes off the mat, toes come back towards your face. Now start to shift more weight back as you lift the heels off the mat. Maybe they come off just an inch or two to start. So if this works for you, you can stay right here. Other options to move forward. If you'd like, you can raise those shins up to parallel with the mat. Again, take note if you're rounding your back, keep it nice and long. And then if you'd like to add your arms, send your arms to the outsides of your shins, palms face up. Get a nice long spine. Last option, if you'd like, you can point your toes and extend and straighten your legs. Again, wherever you feel like you're compromising, you start rounding your spine, just roll back to one way. Make sure you're nice and comfortable here. Well, comfortable is one way to describe it, but Keep holding again. Imagine that strength at the center of your chest lifting you up. Stay for one more breath. And exhale, gently release your feet down. And we'll come onto our back. So either roll your, grab the shins or your thighs and just gently roll onto your backs. Keep it nice and slow. All right, once you're on your back, we'll move into our bridge pose. So keep your knees bent. Walk your heels back underneath your knees, keeping them hips width distance apart. Have your arms down by the sides, palms face down. Press your feet into the mat, press your arms into the mat. Take a nice deep inhale. And exhale, lift your hips up, pelvis up, chest up into your bridge pose. So really press those feet down. Spin the inner thighs in and down, keeping those knees hips width distance. Draw the tailbone towards the backs of your knees. Gently pressing those triceps into the mat. Maybe lift a little bit higher. We're here for 2 more breaths. One more breath. And then gently lowering. Top of the spine, middle of the back. Low back is the last to arrive. Once you lower, let's let those knees fall into touch. Heel toe your feet out to the width of the mat. And then gently let your knees rock from side to side. Just being very gentle and mindful in your movements here. This is just always a good way to release that low back. And then come back to stillness. Just keep your knees touching your feet wide. And let's work on the wrist just a little bit more here. So extend the arms up to the sky. Now, this is very technical, but imagine your arms are like wet spaghetti noodles and just let them wring out a little bit. So you're just letting them be just hovering wet spaghetti noodles here. We're just loosening up the wrists a little bit more here. Keep your shoulders on the mat. Just let your arms be. Just do what they need to do here. Very scientific. All right, you can cease that. Bring your arms back down to your sides. Walk your feet back in the hips with distance. Separate your knees, and then draw your knees into your chest. Now we'll add a spinal twist. You can either keep your knees and your feet together, lifting your shins up to hip height, and we'll drop our knees off to the left side. Otherwise, if you want to add a bind, you can draw your left knee on top of your right knee. If you'd like, you can maybe wrap your feet as well, and then shift your hips off to the left as you drop your knees to the right. So your left knee comes on top, shifting the hips to the left just a slight inch or two, and then drop the knees off to the right. Otherwise, you're just keeping the knees and the feet together as you let them fall off to the right. Now, arms up at shoulder height, extend out into a T or a field goal post, palms face up. Now, most likely that left shoulder popped up off the mat, so try and re-root down your left shoulder, even if those knees come off the mat. Last option is to turn your neck to look over those left fingertips. Let's stay for 3 long, slow, deep breaths here. One more deep breath. And gently bring your gaze back up to center. Bring your knees back up to center. Unwind if they're bound. Recenter your hips. We'll switch to the other side. So you can either keep your knees and your feet together, let your knees fall off to the left, or you can wrap your right knee on top. Maybe you wrap your feet as well. Shift your hips to the right, and then let your knees fall off to the left side. So it's just a more advanced way if you want to try. Either way, we have our spinal twist. We want to keep our knees at least up at hip height, falling off to the left side. And again, that right shoulder most likely popped up, so try and reroute that right shoulder back down on the mat. And then final option, you can turn your neck to look over those right fingertips. 3 slow, deep breaths here. One more nice, slow, deep breath. And then gaze back up to center. Bring the knees back up to center. Unwind if you're bound. Release your feet back down on the mat. And then draw your knees into your chest. Wrap your hands around your shins. Let's separate the knees out wide. Come into happy baby. So extend and bring the bottoms of your feet to face up towards the sky. Keep your knees bent. And options here to either grab around your thighs, outsides of your shins. If you grab the outsides of your feet, have your elbows to the insides of your knees. Wherever you are, try and root that low back down on the mat. The idea here is to keep your shoulders down and draw your knees and the bottoms of your feet down towards the mat. Again, try and root that low back and shoulders on the mat as you gently pull. And if you'd like, you can roll from side to side. Just gently rocking here or staying in the center. Well, let's all meet back in the center. Come back to stillness. Release the clasp of your feet or your legs. Bring your knees back into center. Hug your knees into your chest. Wrap your hands around your shins. Let's lift the back of the shoulders, back of the head off the mat. Come into an egg shape, squeezing everything in together. Just squeeze, squeeze, squeeze for one more breath. And exhale, let's extend. Extend the legs long, extend the arms long overhead. Point the toes, extend the fingertips away from your body. One last full body stretch here. Stretch, stretch, stretch. And exhale, gently release. Arms down to the sides, palms face up. Let your legs be long, knees and the feet fall out to the side. We'll settle into our final pose of practice here, our Shavasana pose. Let this pose be a time to release and scan your body for any little bits of tension that you may be able to ease, softening your toes, relaxing your hips down, maybe separating your jaw, releasing your brow line. Let your eyes be soft. Always have the option to either soften your gaze or close your eyes completely. Just settle into your Shavasana pose. And finally, just release any last little bit of control you have over your breath. Just be here. And just start to bring some awareness back into your body. You can wiggle your fingers and your toes. Rotate your wrists and your ankles. Switch directions in those rotations. And then come back to stillness for one last breath here on your back. And then gently begin to bend your knees in toward your chest as you roll over to one side of your body. Let your top arm rest on your bottom arm. Let your top knee rest on your bottom. Stay for a breath here on your side. Now try to keep your eyes softened or your gaze closed as you use your top arm to press yourself up to a comfortable cross-legged seat to complete your practice today. In your comfortable cross-legged seat, you can rest your palms on tops of your knees. Palms can face up. You can bring your hands into the center of your chest. Let's all take a nice, slow, deep inhale in together. Through the mouth, exhale. Thank you for joining me for your practice today. The light and love in me acknowledges and honors the light and love in each one of you. Thank you. Peace. All right. Thank you all so much for joining me for practice on this Wednesday evening. I hope your week has been going well, and I hope this is a great practice to continue getting you through your week. We just had Coney show up. Coney, do you want to say hi? He was all over me in the Shavasana pose, but now he's away, so maybe you caught a glimpse of him. So yeah, if you ever have any questions, please let me know. You can leave them in the chat, in the comments. More of my contact info is in the video description. And like I mentioned at the beginning of class, next week I will be on vacation, so classes will be canceled next week, but you can always look up any of my old videos on YouTube. All of the live streams go up there automatically, so if you found one that you liked, maybe a background or a class that you enjoyed, go ahead and find that and you can replay that. Rest should be back the following week in that mid-September. So yeah, hope your month has started well and hope you had a great class today. And I will see you all next time in practice. So thank you again. My name is Daniel. See you next time. Peace.